Well, certainly the president concluding his keynote address here, of course, in the midst of many frontline workers. These are the activists, the men and women who deal with this problem perhaps much closer than the rest of us. They deal directly with the victims, and I'm sure you are familiar with all the complaints and concerns that have been raised that it's 4 years later since the 2018 marches and, of course, that big summit that was held, and on the ground there is no tangible change. So today, the group of people, majority being women, who are here starting this first day of this second presidential summit, they were waiting with keen interest to hear what exactly the president has to say, and you would know that one of the focuses for this particular summit is accountability. Brenda Madumise from Wise Africa joins me right now. What do you make of the president's address?
Nothing. I mean, it was a input that we have had before, the same sentiments expressed a year ago, 2 years ago. This is the president who stood in front of the Cape Town Convention Center with the placard, "Enough is enough." And if you are accounting as a president, you need to tell us, when you said it's enough, what was enough and what have you done to make sure that it's enough, right? So we have not heard what is it that he has done. He has not said to us on accountability, this is what I'm accounting on. That, and in fact, I want South Africans to go back to what he said. He says, I receive reports from departments and ministries every month. And it's those reports, what he receives is not good, right? So if that's the case, as a president, that the reports that you have been receiving from your foot soldiers leaves much to be desired, what action have you taken against those that have not been? Remember, you saying for you to account, for you to know what is happening with gender-based violence and femicide in this country, you need those reports to know what is going on. You have received some, you have not received some. So what action did you take on those that were not reporting? And with those that you received the reports on, what did you do? So that was absolutely nothing that he said to show us on accountability. The second thing that the president should have dealt with is, me as the president, I see amplification and acceleration in this manner. He has acknowledged that he himself said gender-based violence and femicide is a pandemic, it's a second pandemic. Now he's saying it's a first pandemic. What we want to see is, what measures are you putting in place as the head of this country to deal with the pandemic? The same way that we dealt with COVID. So I want to see that, and I didn't hear what the president is going to do about that. All that the president is telling us, let's work together. We have been trying to work together for the longest of time. They've been refusing to account.
And what does this then say about the appetite, the political will to, aggressively tackle the scourge? Because on the ground, many of us would testify, it's as if there is a war against women and children. Now, when you stand here as a frontline worker who deals directly with the victims and who is also active in terms of pushing for accountability when it comes from the state, and you hear this address that you earlier said, it sounds like it's really just a copy and paste from the previous speeches that we have heard from the president and his cabinet. What then does that say about the political will to address this
There's
scourge?
No political will, and I think we need to be honest with ourselves. There is no political will, and maybe political will come in the day they understand what their roles and responsibilities are, right? As a president of the country, if you locate and understand how GBV manifests itself in this country, then you can't give us this kind of speech that you gave us, right? You need to go to the heart of what the First Lady of Namibia spoke about. Because in her speech, she was able to say, this conversation around GBV is the most uncomfortable one that we don't want to have. And that's why we have platitudes coming from the president and everyone else in government, because it's a conversation that they don't want to have. Because it's a reflection on some of their colleagues that are found wanting in matters such as this. There are colleagues who are not acting when issues of sexual harassment arises in different departments, that action is not being taken. So we're paying lip service to all of these things.
And where does that leave us now? as I can hear you already not happy. Your confidence is not really, amplified as one would have hoped after his speech. Where does that leave us now?
To vote them out, right? And require different thinking and different people who understand when we talk of inequality in this country, when we talk of poverty, when we talk of racism, when we talk of sexism, when we talk of discrimination of women, understand it and know what interventions should be put in place, not to make us feel good and play to the gallery. No. Can we go deeper into this issue and understand why men behave the way they do, right? The First Lady of Namibia raised a point around the fact that we can't excuse apartheid because apartheid was violent in its nature, right? That you had men who were exposed to violence against each other as men. And where do they go? Once they've been violent towards each other, they go to their partners. And that's why we have this cage. And unless we have that frank conversation that makes us uncomfortable and awkward, we're going to continue to have summits like this. And really, did we need to have a summit to have accountability? I will tell you straight on. No, we didn't have to have a summit.
Are you saying that this is just lip service? It's just playing into the public gallery?
Absolutely. And I would challenge anyone. We are here because we need to register what I'm saying to you now, right? So that there is a recognition that accountability does not need a mass meeting. Does not need people to come and tell you what they have been experiencing as citizens of this country.